How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Horror of Dracula. This is the Hammer version from 1958, directed by Terence Fisher, and fun fact, in England, this was simply known as Dracula. I'm guessing the American audiences were too familiar with the Lugosi Dracula, and they wanted to give it a different title to emphasize the fact that, yes, this was a new and different adaptation with new actors, and it wasn't going to be following the old rules. Speaking of the new actors, you have both the Hammer superstars in this one. Peter Cushing plays Dr. Van Helsing, and Christopher Lee plays Dracula himself. Both these actors bring a new element to these roles. Both of these were done really well in the original Universal one. And where Lugosi was, creepy, Christopher Lee is really elegant and suave, but he's dangerous still, and they keep the danger in there. So it's a different portrayal, and not just Christopher Lee doing a Bela Lugosi impersonation. That would have sucked. And of course, Peter Cushing is excellent in his role as well. A Van Helsing that is systematically going after vampires, and he knows about vampires earlier on in this movie, and you also get to see that in this time, people don't necessarily believe or trust him as much as the older films, and that's one thing, is convincing people to help you in this movie is harder to do. But the changes are really apparent pretty early on. You get Harker coming to Dracula's castle, as is common in a lot of versions of the film. However, in this one, you get a big twist really early in the movie that's revealed that Harker is actually working for Van Helsing and is scoping out the castle for him because he suspects a vampire is there. Now, right away, you're on a different track than most versions of this story, because that's never happened before. And a lot of times, when you see a movie start to go down a different path than the source material, than in previous adaptations, it gets to be concerning, because a lot of times they just abandon it and go about something else. This keeps the feel of the source material, even though it's doing its own thing, and also Dracula is one of those properties that's already had several good adaptations, so you don't necessarily have to feel like I have to get the source material perfect, because so many people have already done that, and it's a property you can really take risk with. And like I said, even though they take risk, the feel is right. After that, it does do the thing where he goes back to England, and he's with the Harker's fiancée. But with this one, it establishes really early on that this is a much more dangerous Dracula. Several people get turned into vampires and people die in the process. There's much more teeth in this one, and characters that you would expect, he or she is going to make it through, not necessarily going to be safe. Much more teeth, much more risk. Another thing that I really like is they clearly define the rules. Now, a lot of monsters, with rules, everybody knows, werewolf, full moon, zombies, you got the bite. Now, Dracula, one of the big things that's different from so many versions of the film is what happens when a vampire bites you. How do you turn into a vampire? And sometimes it's a number of bites, or whether or not you just catch the vampire sickness. but you don't necessarily know, is it one bite and you're doomed, or what? This one, it clearly spells out, which is, a good thing about Van Helsing studying all this stuff. And the rules for the Hammer Dracula series in this one is when the vampire bites you, you are kind of under his control. It actually is a very good metaphor for like addiction. And they say the victims, they don't want to be under his control or do what Dracula says to do, but they feel compelled and they can't stop and they have to do what he says. And once you're bitten, you're under his control, and he'll come back to feed on you really regularly, usually every night. And when you die of blood loss, and presumably anything else, but if you die of blood loss, then you become a vampire. So that's a really good set. It's like, hey, it's, not just some arbitrary number, or if it happens to be the one where, you finally fall victim, if it was like a disease or something. This is when you run out of blood and die of blood loss. But anyway, I really love this film, Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula. Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, great Hammer film, and the stakes. But anyway, I'd recommend this. Christopher Lee is the only person that has any chance of challenging Lugosi as the most iconic Dracula. And a lot of you may have only seen the Lugosi version. Definitely check out the Hammer version as well. This is really great. Can't recommend it enough. Especially, you classic monster fans. You need to see both of the iconic versions of Dracula. Well, I mean, there are several other versions, many of whom are pretty good, but at least see these two. Anyway, love this movie. I'm gonna be back on this channel. More horror, more Hammer, more Universal, more slashers. But definitely the sequel to this, Brides of Dracula, I'll try to get on that and put it out pretty soon. So stick around the channel and we'll have more videos for you guys. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. I'll see y'all later.